Okay, so today we're going to look at expanding case notes in OET writing. So I'm just going to share my screen here. So we'll look at how to expand the case notes in OET writing, which a lot of people find difficult. Just a couple of things. First of all, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for free OET tips and strategies. We've got lots of videos. Also, our website is full of strategies and tips as well, and loads of ways in which we can help you with your OET preparation. Just a couple of notes about Zoom today. We will be using the question and answer, polls and chat. So chat, I might ask you to write a few things in the chat during the class. We'll do quite a few polls today. So what you'll need to do is answer the poll questions by clicking on the answer that you think is correct and then click submit. And Q&A we'll be using for any questions that you have about OET, which we'll answer at the end of the session. Okay, so this is for any general questions you have or questions about writing specifically. So you can write your question in there at any time and we'll look at those at the end and we'll do as many as we have time for. All right. So don't forget, on Thursday this week, same time, Bethan's going to be taking you for OET Reading B tips and strategies. So make sure you sign up for that. I think everything's in the chat now. You can register with that today. Okay, so today we'll look at how to transform case notes into sentences, some common collocations, and some grammatical structures and useful language that will come in handy. So first of all, I'm just going to launch a poll and I would like you to read the 4 statements and decide which one do you think is true. Okay, so I've launched the poll. Please click on the option that you think is correct. Great. Everybody's voting now. Okay, keep voting. Lots of correct answers. Great to see. Okay, let's have a little look at the answers. So most of you have chosen the final option. I need to write in full sentences, which is correct. It's the true sentence here. So I need to write in full sentences. So if we look at the first one, I can copy the case notes exactly. You should change some of the words. Okay, if you write it exactly as the same, you're not showing your language ability. But you don't need to change every single word of the case note. Sometimes you can't change the word. For example, if it's a symptom that doesn't have a synonym. I don't have to write in full sentences. Incorrect. You should write in full sentences to demonstrate your language ability. Okay, so we'll be looking at how we can do that in today's session. So how can you do it? What do you need to think about? So in the case notes, you've got everything in note form. In your OET letter, you need to expand these and write full sentences. So think about what words do we need to add to these notes to make a complete sentence. Put your ideas in the chat now. Any ideas of any extra words we need to add to these notes here? Write in the chat. Yep, so some people sticking in some verbs, some connectors. Yes, so changing the abbreviation, absolutely. Names, verbs, yes. Subject, absolutely. Yes. So you need to add words that aren't given in the case notes. So if we look here, we've got the subject's been added, Mr. Smith. We've also got the verb added, underwent in this case. Articles often need to be added. They're often not put in the case notes. And of course, connecting words can also be added. Also, as some of you noticed, you need to expand abbreviations. Okay, so avoid abbreviations and don't use symbols in your letter. Okay, so make sure that you express these in words. So let's have a little look at what verbs we can use. So often they're missing in the case notes. So if we look here, for example, we've got angioplasty and the date. There's no verb with it. We need to think of what it could be. Similarly, here we've got physiotherapy sessions twice per week. There's no verb here. So we need to think about what verbs we can use to express this information. So I have another poll for you. So this time there are 3 different questions. So I'm going to launch the poll and I'd like you to choose the verb that best matches the phrase. Okay, so complete these collocations. So there are 3 questions to complete. Okay, great. I see lots of people voting now. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's have a little look. I'll just share the results. So most people have done be admitted, undergo, and apply, which are the most appropriate ones. So let's have a little look here. So for the first one, be admitted to the emergency department. It's normally the phrase you use when you describe what a patient has done. I mean, go to the emergency department. Yes, it does work, but be admitted is much more appropriate. Undergo a colonoscopy is the most appropriate word here. Have also works, but undergo is better. Okay, it's more professional. Do isn't what the patient does. Do is what the surgeon does. And then for dressings, the most appropriate collocation here is apply. Apply dressings. Do is a little bit informal. Apply is much more professional. And administer, we don't use with dressings. Administer, we use with medication. So it's a good idea to review common collocations, write them in your notebook. I think also, looking at sample letters or when you're reading as well, you'll come across lots of different collocations. So here are just a couple that could come in handy in the OET writing. Okay, so we know we need to add words. We know we need to think about verbs. So how can you expand the case notes? So we're going to look at an extract from some case notes and go step by step at what we need to think about to expand the case notes. So here we've got 2 things. We've got admission, 24th of February, diagnosis, fractured arm, neck or femur. So those are the case notes. So what we need to ask ourselves are these questions. So have a think about this. Do I need to add a verb? What tense should it be in? Do I need to add a subject? Do I need to add any prepositions or linkers? Do I need to expand any abbreviations? And do I need to add any articles? So these are the things that you can ask yourself when practicing. So let's do it together. So do I need to add a verb? Yes. So the verb would be admitted, yeah, be admitted to. So we need to change the admission into the verb. And then what tense should it be in? It needs to be in past simple because we've got the completed date. And we usually use passive, yeah, because it was admitted by the hospital. So we would write was admitted. Do we need to add the subject? Absolutely. So let's imagine the patient's name is Mr. Patel. It would then look like this. Mr. Patel was admitted. Do I need to add any prepositions or linkers? Yes. So we need to use be admitted with the preposition to. Be admitted to the hospital. And I can also link the two notes together using the preposition with and the diagnosis. So it would look like this. Mr. Patel was admitted to the hospital with, and then we need to think about how to express the diagnosis here. So do I need to expand any abbreviations? Absolutely. Write R as right. Do I need to add any articles? Yes, it's one bone, so I need to use a. It's one fracture, yeah? So a fractured right neck of femur. So it looks like this. So the whole thing together, in the case notes, it looks like this. When we write it, it looks like this. Mr. Patel was admitted to the hospital on the 24th of February with a fractured right neck of femur. So here we've got fully expanded case notes. It's grammatically correct and it's in a full sentence. Okay, it also links the two ideas together rather than just listing ideas. Yeah, you don't want to have lots and lots of really, really short sentences. Okay, so we're going to go through some useful language now. So before you write your letter, once you've selected the information, you need to think about tenses. You need to describe any relevant background information. Also language to describe the current situation, perhaps, and also appropriate language to report information and make recommendations about future care. So let's have a look at some examples of these. So for current situation, what sort of tenses do you think we should use for current situation? Pop your ideas in the chat box. Yes, absolutely. Current situation would be present tenses. Present simple is quite common, or present continuous perhaps. Here are some examples. Okay, so we've got the case notes here. Wheelie walker for mobility. Mr. Holmes mobilizes with a wheelie walker because this is what he uses all the time. Another example, possible early stage Alzheimer's. So she presents with signs of possible early stage Alzheimer's. So again, we've got this present simple to talk about the current state of the patient. What about past medical history and medical treatment? Ideas in the chat box, please. What do you think? Yes, I think the clue is here in the past medical history. Yes. Most of the time you're going to use past simple when it's a specified date. Yeah, it really depends if it's finished or unfinished. So the most common thing you'll use is past simple. For example, we've got here dressings to burns, analgesics for pain management. Could be written like this. Dressings were applied to the burns and she was administered analgesics for the pain. Notice these are both written in passive form here. Okay. Another example, so we've got 24th of August, SOB and widespread wheezing. So he initially presented on the 24th of August with shortness of breath and had widespread wheezing. So past simple here because we know the exact date when it happened. And what about ongoing medical conditions and progress? What do we think? So ongoing, started in the past, continues now. What do we use for that? A lot of you are putting future. What is ongoing as in it's happening now and it started in the past. So future is not really the right tense to use here. Lots of you are putting, yes, Ruby, Christine, present perfect. Absolutely, yes. So we might say, for example, if you talk about the diabetes diagnosis, we could express the length of time. Yeah, so he has had diabetes since 2006. Okay, or overall good progress. She has made overall good progress. Okay, so started in the past and continues to now. Okay, these are not the only ways to express these functions. Yeah, we could use past simple here. He was diagnosed with diabetes in 2006, but here the focus is on he's still got it. Okay. And then we've got providing information about future care needs. So there's lots of different phrases you could use for this. I'm just going to go through a few. Will is a good phrase to use. Yes, will and the verb to express future needs. For example, he will visit the outpatients twice a week and Mr. Webb's stitches will be removed on the 4th of March. So notice the second one is in passive. Should, he should follow a low-calorie, high-fiber diet. And require is also a good verb to use. She requires assistance with showering and dressing. And then we've got making requests. So it's really important that you use appropriate language to request action for the reader. Can you think of any phrases you can use to request and pop your ideas in the chat box? What phrases can you use to request? I'm seeing lots of kindly. Kindly is okay, but there are better phrases to use than just kindly and the verb. Okay, here are 3 that I recommend to my students, and they're really clear. They're polite, they're professional, and they're appropriate to use. So you've got the first one, it would be appreciated if you could, and the verb. So for example, here, it would be appreciated if you could monitor his medication compliance. Or, oh, that's the same. That should be, I would be grateful if you could. So there is the example here. So I would be grateful if you could. That. And then very simply, you might just do, please could you? And the verb. For example, please could you encourage him to do more exercise? What you don't want to do is every single sentence do a different phrase. You can always connect them together. For example, it would be appreciated if you could monitor his medication compliance and his diet, for example. Okay, let's do a bit of practice before Q&A time. So I have another poll for you. So we've got here an extract from some case notes about a patient, and it says diet, poor appetite, refuses low sugar diet. So I want you to have a look. I'm going to launch the poll. Which sentence, A, B, or C, do you think is the best way to express this information? So choose your option now in the poll. Mm-hmm. Okay, so most of you have gone for B. He lacks appetite and is non-compliant with his recommended low sugar diet. Yes, I think that is the best one to use. If we look at the first one, it doesn't tell us anything. I mean, all we know from here is that he doesn't have an appetite, so he's not hungry, and that he will not have low sugar in his diet. We don't know any other information. We shouldn't use bad because it's judgmental. And we haven't expressed that he's got poor appetite. So we're not actually expressing all the notes accurately. If we look at C, he poor appetite and refuses low sugar diet. There's no verb with poor appetite. So it's not quite right there. So B is better. So non-compliant is a nice paraphrase of refuses. Yeah. So he lacks appetite and is non-compliant with his recommended low sugar diet. Okay, let's do one more. So here it's the same patient. So it's talking about his diagnosis, his illnesses now. So 2000 type 1 diabetes diagnosis and 2014 chronic leg ulcers diagnosis, low mobility, pain. So I'm going to launch the poll. Which one do you think is the best expansion of these notes? Oh, hold on. I just got to end the poll for some reason. It's not working. All three. Okay. Oh, says another poll has started. So for some reason, it's not working. That's fine. Okay, let's try again. Poll 4. Launch. Nope, not working. Okay, in the chat box, A, B, or C, what do you think? Okay, I think most people are going for C. A couple of people for B. Let's have a look. C. A, if we look at A, it's a bit listy. He was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in 2000. He was diagnosed with chronic leg ulcers in 2014. It also doesn't express his reduced mobility. So it's not, so the reader wouldn't know. B is okay, but we should not use symbols like this. And this is like note form. It's just copying the case notes exactly. So the best one is C. He has had type 1 diabetes since 2000 and was diagnosed with chronic leg ulcers in 2014, causing reduced mobility due to pain. Okay, and I have one more for you as well. So this is what needs to happen. Okay, oh, sorry, let's see. So this is what has happened already. Okay, so these are in the case notes. This is done. What's the best explanation of these notes? Okay, write in the chat, please. A, B, or C. So just remember that this has already been done by you. That's right. Yeah, I think most people are doing A here. Absolutely. If we have a little look, A. So this one clearly expresses that the referral has been made and why for education on his low sugar diet. And the importance of blood glucose level testing. The second one, the person's just put the subject in front of the case notes. So I've not really thought about the structure of the sentence. And in the third one, there's been a misunderstanding of the case notes. Here it's saying that the diabetes nurse specialist will do a referral to somebody else for education, and that's not quite correct. Okay. Okay, so top tips for expanding case notes: write in full sentences, avoid abbreviations, and build up a language bank of phrases for different contexts that you can use in different scenarios, okay? And practice using the language. That brings us to question time. If you'd like to put any questions you have, please use the Q&A box, not the chat box. So submit your answers in Q&A. Should be in the Zoom toolbar, and we will answer any questions that you have. We've got a couple of minutes. Let's have a look. Okay, we've got a question here about how do I organize the paragraph? That's a very good question. I think with the paragraph, don't put the most important information in the middle. Put it at the start of the paragraph and group information together logically. Okay. You know, for example, you might choose to talk about everything diet first and then everything mobility afterwards, rather than going diet, mobility, diet, mobility. I have some questions about what's better, he has been referred or he was referred. Well, that depends on when it happens. So if it's got a relation to the present, for example, he's been referred and he's going to visit this person now, then he has been referred is best. If it's a specific date, maybe it's a past referral that's no longer relevant, then he was referred would be good there. Okay. Is there any pre-formed paragraph? I'm assuming you mean template. The answer is absolutely not. Don't use templates because you have to adapt each paragraph or each letter according to the case notes. There's no one way to write a paragraph. It really depends on the case notes. So unfortunately, there's no quick fix. You just need to practice different contexts. Yeah. Okie dokie. Can the dates be written in date, month, and year format? Yes, you can use that, or you can use the number and words. Okay, I think what's more now recommended is to use the words, just because in America it's slightly different. So if you're planning to go to America, it's in a different format. Okay. How many paragraphs? It really does depend. Around 4. Sometimes there might be 5, sometimes there might be 3, but around 4. It really depends on how you're doing it. Yeah. Another one here. I've been told by OET exam it's not okay using terms like the patient. Yes. That's correct. Use their name, not the patient, because it's too informal. Also, don't use suffering or complain of. Absolutely don't use those. It has negative connotations. Then you can use is experiencing or presents with. Okay, so anyone's with negative. Or other phrases is things like unhealthy. You know, it's better to state the facts rather than making a comment or an opinion. So don't use phrases such as regrettably and unfortunately. One more question. If there is a history of so many appointments, do we have to mention them all? Probably not. It really does depend on what the purpose of the letter is. If the purpose of the letter is to request continued care and you've got quite a lot of things to request, then you need to have just a summary of the main points of the appointment. Also, only mention the things that are relevant to this particular case and what you're asking the reader to do. What you definitely shouldn't do is include absolutely everything on the case notes. Okay, you've got to have the confidence to select based on the task. Okay. All right, some people asking about OET lessons. We do have lots of courses. Don't forget, next lesson is Reading Bee with Bethan. That's on Thursday. If you are interested in tuition with SLC, you can follow us on social media. There's lots of information there. And also go to our website. The link's going in the chat box now. We have self-study courses, Reach Your ETB Nursing and Medicine, Writing Correction Service, practice test, and we also do one-to-one tuition or group tuition as well with OET teachers. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. I hope you have a lovely day, evening, and see you next time. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.